If you live in the middle of the country and you're thinking about starting a business, your community needs you now more than ever to take action. We're facing a series of economic challenges that are making it harder and harder for us to compete in the next 20 years, such as the increasing cost of living, stagnant wages, corporate creep, not to mention the advancement of artificial intelligence and what that means for employment in the future. Hi, my name is Brian Lee. I grew up in Nebraska, just south of Omaha. And when I graduated the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I moved to Austin, Texas. I lived in Los Angeles for a while. I also spent some time on the East Coast. And I saw what other communities were doing as they were building their innovation communities. And we can do the same thing here. I have 3 suggestions for what we can do in the middle of the country to set ourselves up for the next 20 years. But first, let's dive into the issues. As we all know, the cost of living has increased quite a bit. The cost of buying a home is astronomical. Things you need on a daily basis, like groceries and gas, are creeping up. It's getting harder and harder to make ends meet, and at the same time, wages are not increasing. To make matters worse, corporations are now creeping into our local businesses. Think about farms. A lot of local farms have been bought by international agriculture businesses. Think about local contractors. When you used to be able to call a roofer or a painter or a foundation specialist, now when you look at the listings on Google, a lot of those are national companies where you're going to have to go through a phone tree to get to the person that's actually going to do the work on your house. Think about how often we choose to buy on Amazon versus going to a local store, and how much of that money is going outside of our state. And then, of course, artificial intelligence, which we have really no idea what the impact that's going to be over the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. So if we're going to set ourselves up for success over the next 20 years, we need to be creating opportunities for us in our community here right now. So let's talk about how innovation has moved around the country over the last 40 years. Everyone knows Silicon Valley was a major player in the 90s and the early 2000s, but you started to see a shift to Austin, Texas, Boston, other cities over the course of time in the early 2000s. Now, why was that? The cost of living in Silicon Valley became astronomical. It's basically a place now where you can only live there if you've got the means to do so. And so innovation communities started popping up. I was fortunate enough to live in Austin, Texas during this time in the early 2000s for about 15 years. And I saw the rise of that community and what they were doing to create that. And it was based around community. People were sharing ideas with each other. They were coming together in centralized places like the Capital Factory. That's where I was a part of a startup called Social Matters. And the first time I went to the Capital Factory, it just blew my mind. It was part of a 10 or 15 story building in downtown Austin with glass windows from floor to ceiling. We used to scribble out our whiteboard notes on the window overlooking the skyline of Austin. And the benefit of being there is that Social Matters and the other startups there had the benefit of advisors from other successful startups. WP Engine was one of the biggest startups that had made success there at the Capital Factory. Ironically, WP Engine purchased Flywheel, which is one of our great success stories here in Nebraska and Omaha. One of my best advisors was from that WP Engine original startup team and taught me about things like the revenue funnel. So when I came back to Nebraska in 2016, became the managing director of Big Omaha and Silicon Prairie News, I started to see that there was a lot of activity going on in Nebraska. Companies like Flywheel, like Huddle, like Bulu, Company Cam. The problem was a lot of people didn't know about it. It was somewhat isolated to a very small innovation community. And then since the pandemic, that community has started to disperse a little bit. It goes back to one of the issues we have here as Midwesterners. We pride ourselves on working hard, pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps, being able to do things on our own. But what we tend to shy away from is coming together and getting help from each other and helping each other. And that's one of the major differences between us and communities like Austin, Texas, where people are coming together, sharing ideas, having the abundance mentality, not being afraid of someone stealing their idea. So the first thing I would say is if you're interested in entrepreneurship, plug into your local community, your entrepreneurial community. There's a lot of resources available from both the Lincoln and Omaha Chamber of Commerce in any city that you live in the middle of the country, and try to find out where other people are starting businesses and learn lessons from them. It's not easy to start a business. There's a lot of things you have to do. You have to wear many hats and you need help. The myth of the American dream of building it on your own is just not a realistic proposition. There's a famous quote by Zig Ziglar that I love, which is, if you help enough other people get what they want, you can have anything that you want, or something to that effect. So plug in your local community. I know in Lincoln here where I live, you can go to startuplnk.com to find an event calendar for the entrepreneurs. There's weekly coffees. 1 Million Cups is a great place to start. It's a weekly gathering that happens in a lot of the cities across the Midwest. I know they have one in Omaha. I know they have one here in Lincoln. It's a place where people go and pitch their ideas and get feedback from others. And this is also the reason we decided to start Prairie Founders Club, where we go out to local entrepreneurs, we celebrate success, bring people together, and share ideas. The second thing we need to do in the middle of the country is catch up with these other innovation communities on technology. Software has gotten so good now in terms of CRM, project management, sales, telecommunications. You can run an entire business on a lot of the software that's available. A lot of it is free or inexpensive. You just need to learn about how to do it. One thing I've noticed in my consulting business is we're going to local companies here that are still on spreadsheets for their sales system. Something as simple as moving that to a CRM is going to improve your efficiency greatly. On top of CRM, you can use marketing automation. It's a way to keep in touch with your people. Content marketing is something that seems daunting, but it's more and more important in our information age. You have to be able to put your voice out there to be seen. And a lot of times we're competing with national companies for our content. And number 3, we need to get up to speed on our sales and marketing techniques. Just because you have a great idea doesn't mean that people are going to buy it. You have to market it. You have to sell it. Are you going to be more of a sales-oriented organization or more of a marketing-oriented organization? I'll give you a simple way just to get started on that. It's going to start with the question, are you B2B or are you B2C? B2B, business to business. You sell to other businesses. B2C, you sell directly to consumer. Number 2 is your lifetime value of your customer over or under $10,000. The way to calculate the lifetime value is take all the money, all the revenue you have over the course of a period of 2 or 3 years and divide it by the number of customers you have. On average, do they pay you more or less than $10,000? In this scenario, a B2B and over $10,000 means you're going to be primarily a sales organization. B2B sales cycles take much longer, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months to develop relationships, and you need people to do that. The larger the dollar amount, the more people want another human being to relate to and trust in order to hand that amount of money over. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're B2C and your lifetime value is less than $10,000, you're most likely going to be a marketing-first organization. B2C, under $10,000, on those lower dollar amounts, people make decisions quicker, and it's really about what's in front of them at the time. So it's really more about running advertising, some content marketing, etc. And if you're in these zones here in between, you're going to be kind of a split of both. So in summary, if you're thinking about starting a business, now's the time to do it. If you're in the middle of the country, there's 3 things you need to do. Number 1, we need to find your community. Number 2, you need to get brushed up on some modern software. Number 3, we need to hone in your sales and marketing techniques. Hope that was helpful. You can learn more about us at prairiefoundersclub.com, and we'll see you next time.